now go across to former Foreign Secretary Harsh Vardhan Shringla, who's joining us on the program right now. Ambassador Shringla, very important piece of news coming in. Donald Trump first said on Truth Social that US has managed to mediate a successful ceasefire between India and Pakistan. This morning, the news was broken by Network 18 that DGMO talks have been initiated by Pakistan. How do you think this came around?
Well, clearly there has been some nudging by the US and some leverage has been used on Pakistan. One of the reports that we're getting is that the understanding was that the US would allow the current tranche, which was under consideration yesterday at the IMF, to be released, but the rest of it will be conditional upon Pakistan's agreeing, fulfilling the conditions that have been laid down. So Pakistan agreed to this particular situation based on what I think was some negotiations at the IMF. I can't vouch for its authenticity, but there are some reports which indicate that. What is important is that some leverage has been exercised in Pakistan. Pakistan itself, from the briefing, it's very clear that has been at the receiving end of this conflict. Their offensive and defensive capabilities have been degraded. There is a loss of morale. Their critical air bases have been bombed, and so I think there are a number of factors that have forced them onto the table and onto the stoppage of fire, which has been announced now by both sides.
Right. We had carried out a large number of attacks on Pakistan, sir. There were 8 air bases which were attacked over the last 7 to 8 hours. We also managed to neutralize their air defense systems in Lahore. We also managed to bring down Pakistani fighters as well, while we're still awaiting confirmation and official confirmation on that. Do you think Pakistan would have been able to continue this grey warfare strategy over the next few days?
So I've always maintained that modern warfare consumes material at a prodigious rate, and one of the main factors that you need is the supply of equipment, ammunition, manpower. Supply chains have to be in order. Your command and control has to be intact. And I think the longer the conflict went, the more disadvantaged Pakistan would be. I mean, even in just 2 to 3 days of conflict, it is very clear from the briefing of the Ministry of Defense right now that Pakistan has suffered untenable losses. That's the word that is used. And I think if the conflict had continued further, I think their ability to sustain this would have been less and less. So from that perspective, I think it made sense for them to de-escalate and to come to the table and to look for a ceasefire. From our perspective, I think our objectives, from the point of view of Operation Sindoor, have been fully met. We have achieved those objectives by striking at the heart of the terror infrastructure inside Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. We have degraded their military capabilities, their radars, their air bases, their air defense systems. And I think, in the future, if at all there were to be any such a situation that arose where, there would be a repeat of what we saw, I think terrorism, in the future should be treated as an act of war. And we need to, go into full gear straight away. So the punitive action should have to be very, very strong, immediate, and absolutely forceful. So I think these are some of the things that we have to look at. As we go along, we have to see how we can contain Pakistan and make sure that there is adequate deterrence and preemptive efforts in that direction.
Right. Sir, it was around 15:35 hours that the Pakistani DGMO, called the DGMO of India, they had talks, and then they announced that from 5 p.m. today, a ceasefire is going to hold. At 4 p.m., top government sources had said that India has decided that any future act of terrorism perpetrated by Pakistan against India will be treated as an act of war and will be responded to accordingly. How do you think India came to this decision? And do you feel this would have been conveyed very strongly to Pakistan as well in those DGMO negotiations? DGMO talks, I won't call them negotiations.
I have no doubt that this would have been conveyed to Pakistan, and no doubt also that it's been conveyed to all of our principal interlocutors, including the United States, that you have to rein them in, otherwise they will face the full wrath of the Indian military. And I think this is the message that is very important, because that is the only sort of hard message that Pakistan would understand, and those who control the levers of power would understand today.
Right. Speaking to you about the role of the United States, we had been speaking to the United States. Marco Rubio specifically was in touch with both External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, also the Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, and he also yesterday had a call with Asim Munir. Now, that was a bit unprecedented. Here you had the National Security Advisor, the Foreign Minister of the United States, not calling his counterpart, not even the Prime Minister, but the Army Chief. We've not heard that ever. So, do you feel that that call from Marco Rubio to Asim Munir may have been the turning point?
Well, Secretary Marco Rubio knew where the levers of power lay in Pakistan, and he didn't waste any time talking to the pretense of a democratic and political order. And he also knew who was behind the perpetration of the Pahalgam terrorist attack, who was the decision maker with regard to escalation of hostilities. And so he got to the heart of the matter straight away by talking to the right people. And I think this has shown results in whichever way possible. I mean, the US, as I said, can exercise, bring disproportionate influence on certain countries, especially Pakistan, countries like Pakistan. And I think that has been amply demonstrated in their desire, not only because of US pressure, but their own pressure that they've been facing on the military front to sue for a sort of a cessation of hostilities and a ceasefire.
Right. Ambassador Shringla, I'd just like to read out what Marco Rubio said. Over the past 48 hours, Vice President Vance and I have engaged with senior Indian and Pakistani officials, including Prime Ministers Narendra Modi, Shehbaz Sharif, External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar, Chief of Army Staff Asim Munir, and National Security Advisors Ajit Doval and also Asim Malik. I'm pleased to announce that Government of India and Government of Pakistan have agreed to an immediate ceasefire. We commend Prime Minister Modi and Sharif on their wisdom, prudence and statesmanship in choosing the path of peace. J.D. Vance also tweeting to say, great work from the President's team, especially Secretary Rubio, and my gratitude to leaders of India and Pakistan for their hard work and willingness to engage in this ceasefire. So, what are the kind of pressures the United States would have used to bring Pakistan to this level to stop the conflict?
Well, there are many pressures that a country like the United States can use. I mean, we can only take a guess here, but these are informed guesses. One of those is that the entire fleet of F-16 aircraft dependent on the US for provision of spares, ammunition, maintenance, etc. I think if those were to be cut off, you would suddenly find that the Air Force is practically defenseless. I'm just giving you an example. I have already mentioned the possible US role in brokering a deal in allowing the IMF, extended fund facility of $2.3 billion to go through, based on their acceptance of, going for a ceasefire. At the same time, the remaining fund, because this is a $7 billion fund, the remaining fund would be held conditional on Pakistan's, good behavior in the future. That's again conjecture. I mean, this is speculation. I can't say for certain whether this is correct or not. But you asked about the sort of leverages the US can bring to bear on Pakistan, and I'm giving you the sort of instances that could be, a sort of behind the scenes maneuvering
which
that
could have worked out
down to the ceasefire.
All right. All right, Ambassador Shringla, thank you very much for joining us with those very important views on how this ceasefire came about. It's always a pleasure to have you on CNBC TV 18. Let me